everyone. This is Matt from Morgan Web Development. So in this video, I want to introduce a project that I've been looking forward to doing for a while, and that's building a production-ready web application from scratch. So I want this to be a video series, but I will create some articles along the way as I go. But for the first video, I thought it was relevant to go ahead and create the article first, right? So I'll talk about it and then we'll just read through it because I think the written article probably outlines it a little more clearly. But essentially, what I want to do is I want to demonstrate the full process of building a production web application. So that means setting up the backend, creating the data models, setting up all the different accounts you would need to create your database, your hosting, and your web server, building your web application itself, connecting everything together, planning the project and deploying it, right? So really every step of the way. And I really want to not edit the videos and content as little as possible to show like where the pitfalls are, like just really illustrating that full to production process, right? So that being said, let's just go ahead and read through the article and we can get a good foundation of what we're going to be doing in this project. So the course is to really show a step-by-step how a real-world web application is built from the ground up. So this is really whether you're a developer, an entrepreneur, or just someone who has an app idea and a bit of coding experience. And course is going to walk you through how to turn that into a live working project. So I really don't want this to be a watch me code series or a basic programming tutorial. Instead, I want it to be a complete practical journey through the entire life cycle of a professional web application. So from planning and architecture to the cloud deployment. So in this, I really want you to learn by following along with the real development process. Mistakes, debugging, problem solving, everything. Nothing's really going to be super polished or pre-edited, and you're going to see what actually happens whenever you're building a web application in the real world and how to navigate each challenge. And by the end, you'll understand how to not just code the individual features, but how to really think and plan out a project and execute it so it's a production-ready web application. So the tools that we're going to use in this is we're going to use a lot of the same technologies that you would see across any major, professional web app. And they're also the ones that I personally like to use. So we're going to use Angular for our front end. And I'm going to create a video around like picking your web stack. But for the 99% of web applications and projects, like the stack that you're most comfortable with is the stack to choose, right? There's very few cases where you're like, I need this specific backend language or this specific thing because it offers me this much, extra speed, stuff like that. All that to be said, we're going to use Angular for our front end and we're going to use NestJS for our backend because I do feel like this is best for backend, like architecture, right? It's a little step above Express in my mind whenever you're building like production web applications just because of the built-in features. Next, we're going to use MongoDB Atlas for our database and storing all of our information. And we're going to use that for both production, staging, and our development, right? We're going to connect several MongoDB Atlas instances, each one representing our different environments. We're going to use AWS S3 to store our images and files. We're going to use GitHub for our version control and collaboration. And then for project management, we're going to use Lancer project management software to manage and build our epics and tasks. So we're going to break down the whole project into epics and tasks, and we're going to use this for our project management software. This is just the one that I use. I built it and I use it. So I'm obviously going to be a fan of it and highly recommend it. It's free for up to 3 projects, I believe. So you can certainly follow along and do the whole project on Lancer for free using a free subscription, but you can also use any other project management software you would want, right? It's really just breaking down the project into tasks is the key there. And then I'm going to use Cursor AI for the code editor, just because this day and age, I feel it's pretty important to use AI in your development workflow, right? You don't want to use it as a crutch, but at the same time, I feel that you're really limiting yourself if you're not learning how to use AI in your development. So I felt it was relevant to incorporate that into the um, project management and development and just overall workflow process of building these applications, because as we move forward in time, it's going to get more and more ingrained in everyone's workflow. So it makes sense to go ahead and start incorporating here, learning its pitfalls, learning where it's strong. But again, just to reiterate, we're not gonna rely on AI a ton, right? We'll see how it comes along and how we use it as we build, but you really have to know what you're doing while you're using it um, as we build. So, what we'll be building. In this course, we're going to build a production ready to do list web application. I know it's a pretty common, um, like entry level type of project, but I think we're going to take this one a step farther. But I think the to do list really limits the features we need to build while still giving us that full scope project that we're looking for. Right. So, as the article says, it's not your beginner to do app. We're going to define it like a professional SaaS product, complete with authentication, management, cloud hosting, deployment pipelines, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a backend development where we're going to create user authentication and authorization, so logins, registration, password resets. We're going to create role-based access control, organized controllers, services, environment management, integration with MongoDB Atlas for our data storage, right? Just a full backend development. Front end development, we're going to create our task management app. That's where all the UI is going to sit, all the different features that's going to integrate with our backend to pull in the data, save tasks, do tasks, create lists, things like that. And then we're going to deploy an AWS where we're going to create an app runner instance for our backend service and an Amplify instance for our Angular web app. We're going to connect the two using AWS to store our images, and then we're going to manage that code repository through GitHub. And along the way, we'll discuss how all this integrates, how we use security and maintainability, everything that we do for a real world production system. So, as I said above, how AI is going to be used in this project. So, as AI starts being ingrained more and more into people's lives, right, we'll explore how it's responsibly and effectively used as a tool to replace productivity, not replace understanding, right? I think that's the key, right? I think that's the most important sentence that we could say about AI in the project, right? We're going to use it to brainstorm and explore solutions, speed up coding tasks, define, debug, improve workflow and documentation, but we're going to cover its limits, right? How to build secure, reliable applications. You have to understand how the code works. AI can help you build faster, but you still have to be the one controlling the wheel of the car. So, who this course is for? This course is for anyone who wants to learn how professional web applications are planned, built, and deployed. Simple as that. You'll get the most out of it if you do have a basic understanding of HTML, JavaScript, TypeScript, just some basic programming fundamentals. But we are going to do a lot of coding in there. And so I think with the basic foundation, you should be able to understand everything that we're doing and follow along. Also, if you want to learn how to combine technology to create web applications, if you're an entrepreneur who really wants to understand how these apps are made before hiring someone, if you're a developer just looking to learn full stack workflows from backend to cloud, or you just want to build and launch your own idea right away, right? It covers a full spectrum of people who might be looking for all sorts of type of information, right? I really want to cover the base for everyone who's interested, right? You don't have to be a programmer or professional like software engineer for this course. You just have to be comfortable reading and writing some code and ready to learn. So by the end of this course, you'll have a fully deployed production ready web application that you've built from scratch, right? That you'll be able to view on your web browser and use, a complete understanding of how these apps are built, structured, and secured, hands-on experience with all the different web application or web languages that we mentioned, the ability to plan, organize, and manage your apps, which I really think is one of the bigger things that people skip. One of the more important pieces of like successfully executing a web application is the planning aspect of it. And then finally, the confidence to turn those ideas into real working products after you have that foundational knowledge. So, in closing, this course isn't about memorizing code, it's about understanding how the pieces come together to create something real, scalable, and professional. Whether you want to build your own application, whether you just want to work smart as a developer, or simply learn how web apps that you use every day are made, this course is going to show you how it's done. So that's it for this video. And the next video, we're going to just kind of dive right in and talk about defining our project, right? This first step in the project management um, aspect of it, which comes first before we ever touch code. And we're just going to outline what our project is and start breaking it down into its various, features and tasks. So I hope this was helpful. I'm really excited to be starting this course. I hope you're excited too, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for listening.